means I blew out my filter. It's too big. It shouldn't be in my chamber. That's what I mean. So, is H plus normally reabsorbed or secreted? Secreted. Normally you try to pump that out. So where? Well, there's two places, right? PCT is one, and DCT is another one. You can do either one. PCT or DCT. I didn't care.
Wait for the party.
That's fine. So if you have a location party, your NaCl moves by an active process. Yeah. NaCl active, you can put the loop, you can put the PCT, you can put the DCT, you can put the collecting duct.
So anywhere?
Basically anywhere, right? All four places. That was supposed to be like Guinea, right? And our last question is, was HCO3 reabsorbed passively? Yes or no? Let's go back to our picture.
Yes.
You can put yes or no because it's both, right? HCO3 is passive here, active there. I didn't specify, so I'll do the yes or no.
So why
Thanks, Christie.
So why did we even have a quiz? All the answers, you could put anything.
Well, if you miss something, do something, right?
Yeah, please.
He's so much
You won.
Questions on that?
No, hell yeah.
Did you have a project? Anyone have a project today?
I'll be the only one.
Projects? Anyone have a project today? Okay. Making sure I don't catch up.
So are we going to
Just the protein.
Sure.
Yes, H plus is wrong. H plus is always in your field.
We're doing a
Alright.
reconstruction of
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. For your chest.
What do you do?
Reconstruction.
I was going to get my screen on.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're going to finish up some urinary and do some acid base. So we basically learned the basic part. This picture was basically how your kidney takes stuff in and out. So we're going to learn mostly today is how you regulate that process. How does your body tell the kidney what to do? So I'm going to show you some animations that deal with regulating that. Right? So I'm going to be animating you to death here, not you. Here we go.
So what, this is after base balance and stuff?
And that is, we'll be finishing up with that. But first, I got to do the kidney. Let's review. So by now you should be able to pull back to the three things kidneys do, right? What's the first step? Filtration, filter, right? And glomerulus. Then we have our reabsorption, right? And our secretion. Just beat those in. So we're going to try regulating now these three steps. How does the kidney know how much filtration to do, for example? What we're going to do is go down and we're going to spend some time with this animation. So, you can't really do this at home. Well, you could. It's not easy, right? But if I replay that, I could measure how fast you can put stuff through the filter. So if you're a Starbucks, how fast can you fill the cup? That's kind of the logic here. So if I measure how much filtration I do, I come up with that three-letter word at the top that you're going to memorize. Glomerular filtration rate. If you can't pronounce it, we're just going to write the acronym. So we're going to learn our first regulation is GFR. Glomerular filtration rate. Or GFR. GFR is fine on the test. I'm cool because no one can pronounce the G word. Okay. What this is how much filtrate formed per minute. So remind me again what filtrate was. Or where
Blood to nephron.
in the nephron, the stuff that leaves my blood and goes into my nephron. So if we highlight it, this is step one. So blood into nephrons. So I'm measuring how fast stuff leaves my blood in a volume into my nephron in a minute. So we watch the yellow stuff fill up the beaker. Why? Because I like this animation. Right? I'm measuring the yellow fluid to filtrate the stuff that's leaving my blood and collecting it for a minute. So I would have a GFR number. I would measure the rate of GFR. Right? Okay, anyone can tell me how much I make in a minute according to this graph? 125. That's never asked you to quote me, but keep that in your head. It's about 125 a minute. Is that mLs? It's mLs. So it's milliliters. So a quarter of a liter a minute. So every 4 minutes you make a liter. Right? But I'm measuring the amount of fluid that's passing through the filtration membrane. What's important to know is not per se that, but what affects that. So let's affect that. Here's Susie. Say hi. Alright. So right now, we are measuring with this fantastic GFR meter, there's an app for that, right? That's measuring how much glomerular filtrate, how much of step 1 she's performing by leaving the blood and entering her nephron, which is shown like this. So right now it says normal, whatever that means. Right? Ooh, look what she's attached to. What is that thing there? Blood pressure cuff. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out what controls your GFR. What controls the GFR, do you think, according to this diagram? Blood pressure. So the main factor, the main regulation is blood pressure. So blood pressure is the main thing affecting how much fluid leaves my blood and ends up in my kidney, in my nephron. It's my blood pressure. All right? This is called a long-term regulation.
Of blood pressure?
Of GFR. Right? Blood pressure is a long-term mechanism. So let's see that in action. We're going to make Susie change her blood pressure. Right? So right now she's normal, whatever that means. We're going to make her exercise. What should happen to blood pressure if you're an out-of-shape couch potato like me? That should go up, right? So let's watch your blood pressure go. Is your blood pressure going up? Indeed it is. What did your GFR just do? It went up. Because if I'm pushing harder on the blood, I can push more fluid through the filter. Right? So if I increase blood pressure, I'm going to increase GFR. That sounds like a graph waiting to happen.
Wouldn't that just be a linear graph?
No, actually.
Oh,
It'd be one of those ones.
One of those typical graphs, right? So let's do times GFR. So I'm going to graph GFR over time. Okay. So, down here, if I increase my blood pressure, so I'm exercising or whatever, what did my GFR do? It increases because I'm pushing more on the filter. It's like pushing down the cheesecloth. Right? So I'm pushing more on the glomerulus. It's going to raise my GFR. But look at my meter. It says it's too high now. You know this graph. What do things do when they go up? Negative feedback, right? Okay, so how am I going to lower my GFR if you're exercising?
right here. It's like a chill pill.
Let's see. This tells me to click something.
Relax.
Click the what?
Afferent.
Remind me what the afferent or afferent did? Was that the in or the out?
In.
That's the in. So I'm going to click on the afferent arterial. Watch carefully. All right.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh, ah.
Let's replay that. That's exciting. All right. So she has normal blood pressure, normal GFR. She's going to raise her blood pressure by exercise. GFR climbs. Negative feedback kicks in. The only way I can lower your GFR is to constrict my afferent arterial. So the graph goes up. We're going to constrict afferent arterial.
It's saying like decrease your vasodilation. Is that like the same thing?
Yes, decreased vasodilation would be a fancy way to say that. Yeah.
Sorry.
So why does that lower my GFR?
Because
Less flood's going in. So you're thinking, well, 232 well, then that would raise your pressure. Well, what we're doing is we're getting less flow. We're making the pipes harder for fluid to get through. So even though I'm making the vessel small, less fluid is getting in my nephron. Therefore, the flow rate, GFR, would go down.
So the pressure stays the same and the flow.
Right, so her heart's beating like crazy to do the exercise, but the kidney is going to constrict the afferent arteriole, the in pipe, to bring GFR back down to normal. It's myogenic, so it does not time. So now, even though she's exercising, her pressure went up, her GFR now has become normal again because she made the pipe smaller going into the kidney. So blood pressure is the main regulator, but this one is called local control. We learned that back in 232. When did we learn local control in 232?
Capillaries?
Right, capillaries, right? Remember, the capillaries control what your tissues got, independent of you. So, to keep this in your head, your heart is not going to beat less simply because your kidneys have too much fluid. Right? You'd never get out of your chair. So the heart keeps beating to keep her exercising, and the kidneys do their own thing to bring the GFR back to normal. So even though I'm going upstairs, my GFR is back to normal, regardless of my blood pressure. So let's do this again then. I'm going to click her normal, whatever that means. Now I'm going to relax her. What does blood pressure do when you relax somebody? Normally goes down, parasympathetic. Right? So on our graph, I'm going to now lower my blood pressure. I'm sleeping. You just had lunch. Whatever. Sleeping spots. So what did my GFR do when I fall asleep? It went down, right? There's less fluid. So my GFR now is going down because I don't have a lot of pressure. What do you think kidneys do when they're not getting enough fluid to filter?
Vasodilate.
I'm going to dilate my tubes, let more fluid in. So you expect I'm going to dilate the afferent arteriole. I'm going to open the pipe up. Let's see if that's true. It tells me to click the afferent arteriole. Ooh, it got bigger. And when it got bigger, more fluid, more flow goes through my nephron. So I don't have to wake up to make my kidneys get their GFR back. The kidneys will do it on their own, making the pipes bigger and smaller, independent of my blood pressure.
Is that in the cells in the afferent?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So in the lab, what's his name, Christie, was saying that when you have really high blood pressure chronically, it damages your kidneys.
Yes.
So this is not strong enough to compensate for someone who has chronic high.
So this is under normal range. So if you have really, really high blood pressure, no matter how much I constrict it, you keep beating me down. What happens eventually the filter blows. Right. But under normal blood pressure ranges, then usually this can compensate. But if it's 200 over 190,
so if it was a really high, this wouldn't work at all.
It would work, but it wouldn't work well enough to compensate.
Where does the fluid go when you, where does it go? If you're constricting your...
It stays in the blood.
Oh.
So your blood would just take longer to filter.
Okay, and then also, how does this have anything to do with the glomerular apparatus?
Not directly.
Okay.
We'll get there. That's indirectly. So let's go through this one more time. Alright, so here we go. I have my normal blood pressure, my normal GFR. If I exercise, my blood pressure climbs, making GFR go up. My kidneys say, I don't like that, so we're going to constrict the pipe so less fluid gets in. Local control. I'm still exercising, but my kidneys back to normal. Okay.
So it's a short term.
Short term. And relaxation's reversed. My pressure's too low to get fluid to my kidney. My kidney responds by not waking me up, instead of opening the pipe to get more fluid in to raise my GFR. So local control, local regulation, short-term regulation, whatever word you want to use there.
What did Joseph just say was short? What was that? I'm like.
Short-term is the same as local control.
Oh, okay.
So it's another way to say it. Make sense on GFRs? So every time you walk to class, you're running here because you're tad late. Your blood pressure went up, but your kidneys kept their GFR roughly the same because they just made the pipes bigger and smaller. So every nephron in your kidney can adjust its own flow rate independent of your body. So it's a local event.
Can it adjust it independently of other nephrons?
You can.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you that in action. Oh, that's wrong. This is not anatomically correct. There are people in that brain. Right? So here is the blood pressure, this guy. And here is the afferent arteriole. So as my blood pressure climbs, I'm stretching my arterioles. And what do blood vessels do when you stretch them? Remember Starling's law? What do things do when you stretch them? They want to snap back. That's how you do this. So as I stretch my afferent arteriole, it wants to constrict and reduce the stretch. So let's do that. You're watching me hanging, right? Yeah, I'm hearing how much pain this guy's in.
Farting or something?
Animation is.
Let me know when you're more watching her.
I'm bored.
Okay.
I give up. I give up.
Oh my god.
I hate to do that voice animation.
But that's the concept. Is as the blood pressure is pushing harder in the kidney's response is to constrict those arterioles to keep GFR normal. So your blood pressure is going up and down all day long. The kidney basically is keeping GFR the same.
So what if your GFR is like why do we want it to be at a certain rate?
Because that's how the kidneys would regulate their flow. If you get too much flow, the kidney doesn't have time to do its job, right? Just like your intestines. So you wouldn't be able to reabsorb or secrete properly because the flow gets too fast. If you don't have enough flow, then you're not cleaning your blood fast enough.
So stuff builds
So stuff builds up. So the kidney's job is I want the same volume all the time. 125 is the rate I need to clean your blood and to do my job. Yes.
So how come sometimes you're peeing like a racehorse and that's not like, oh, I can go 8 hours?
That's because how much fluid is in your bloodstream that have to filter. So if there's more water in your bloodstream than normal, the rate never changes, but then the stuff I'm going to reabsorb and secrete would change. So if you have too much water, I'm not going to reabsorb any of it. So you're going to have more volume to pee. If you need more water back in your blood, you reabsorb it all, so there's nothing left to pee. Even though the rate of filtration was the same, it's the downstream stuff that would alter that. Okay? So it varies. Even though the filtration is the same, the end product doesn't always be the same. Yeah?
What are you talking about color?
Color of pee? What about it?
Oh, just added.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. After we learn one more thing, then it'll make more sense. So do okay with GFR, regulation of filtration. Now we regulate those other things. Remember these guys. Remember those?
Yes.
Let's review. Alright? Remember these guys here that pull those stuff out of the urine and put them into my blood or vice versa? These channels. Okay, so now we have to figure out how does my kidney know what channels to do what. So we're going to go back to last term. That hormone hell you learned in 232. Remember that? Yeah, you got it. Okay, so we're looking at Dan here. So we are looking on the left is filtrate, nephron, P. On the right is his bloodstream, or B. So again, if you go left to right, you'd be leaving the nephron, going into the blood, also known as
filtrate.
If I go from filtrate to blood, it is reabsorption. If I go from right to left, I'm going from blood into filtrate, that would be secretion. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make Dan dehydrated. Alright, so if you can look with all your eyes. So you notice there's stuff from my urine, my filtrate, that I'm reabsorbing left to right into my body. So can anyone capture that big blue thing? What's that supposed to represent? That's water. Why would I reabsorb water?
So you don't get dehydrated.
I'm dehydrated. Right? There's no sense wasting water. Water I want. I reabsorb what's useful. So my body is using a water channel, also as an aquaporin, to bring the water into my body, reabsorb from my filtrate. And that little red guy is sodium. Remember, sodium attracts water, right? And there's a few things like potassium secrete. But basically, I'm reabsorbing salt and water back into my body. Now I'm going to drink a lot of water. I want you to watch what happens. And you have to watch the animation. Let's do that again. So here it is under dehydrated conditions. And here it is under overhydrated conditions. And what do you see happening over here? Channels are closed, channels are removed, channels are deregulated, downregulated. Right? So let's figure out what channels went where. What channels were removed? Some sodium channels were removed, and yeah, look, the water's bouncing off there. Why would I remove the channels for water?
Because you have enough water.
I have too much. There's no point reabsorbing something I don't need anymore. So I'm going to reabsorb less water and reabsorb less salt. So last time you learned two hormones that target the kidney that affect salt and water balance. What were they? Aldosterone is one and ADH is the other. We're going to do some graphs and hormones now.
This is pertinent to secretion.
What was renin? Why am I thinking renin right now?
Renin was for angiotensin aldosterone system.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Let's do ADH first.
Wait, so is this pertinent to secretion reabsorption?
Yes. I should make him stop drinking it.
So those channels are.
Yes. Remember last term, ADH, antidiuretic hormone, reabsorbs water. Okay, now we're going to add some details for this term. In the collecting duct. So remind me in your nephron that you learned last week where the collecting duct was. Where was that? The beginning?
It's where the nephron.
It's all the way at the end. So this does not affect the water in the PCT or the loop or any of that. This affects water at the very last step. After everything else is done, the collecting duct. How does it reabsorb the water? It adds water channels. Or water transmembrane channels, or water transporters.
So the
aquaporins or hydroporins. Pick a word you like.
So the collecting ducts add the channels.
Yes. Right, in the wall. So if we make a graph,
so what adds those channels?
the ADH does it to the cells. So the cells actually form a channel, protein channel. So let's make a graph. Okay. Time down here. And body water over here. Let's say I don't have any water in my body today. So I'm dehydrated, whatever word you want to use. Where could I go to get some more water?
Blood.
My blood.
Plasma.
Plasma. Could I get out of my urine? I could. So I'm going to reabsorb more water from my urine. There's no point peeing it out when I want it. So I'm going to reabsorb water from my urine back into my body. What hormone would tell my kidneys to do that? ADH. So I'm going to increase ADH. That's going to tell my collecting ducts to reabsorb more water, bring it out of my urine and back into me. How do my collecting ducts do that? They do what? They add channels. So I'm going to increase ADH, which is going to increase water channels. So I'm going to build more channels, or upregulate would be another way to say it. And therefore I'm going to have more water tubes to bring water into my body from my urine. Make sense? If I do that, I should have more water floating around in my body, my bloodstream.
Sorry, just to clarify,
Yes.
ADH doesn't actually do this, it tells the cells.
Tells the cells to do it. Right, it's the signal. You want to repeat some more?
Is that hormone in the urine? Does it get through the
No. It's just it goes to the interstitium. Okay. So let's say now I have way too much water. Water's good for you. Right? Where am I going to go? Where am I going to put all this extra water? Into my pee. So I reabsorb less water. I don't want the water because I have too much. So tell me about ADH. What would the level of ADH do? It's going to go down. I'm going to have less ADH, make less ADH. What's that going to do to my channels? Decrease my channels. If I have fewer channels, I don't reabsorb as much. There's no door to let them in. I downregulate. Another way to say it. And therefore, my graph down. So when I am thirsty, I make more ADH to make more channels to reabsorb more water from my urine. If I have too much water, I do the reverse, which is what you learn in 232, basically.
So water levels and ADH are like directly related.
Directly kind of opposite.
Well, on the reabsorption bit.
Reabsorption, yes. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, let's make another graph over here. Let's look at sodium, shall we?
Is this also reabsorption?
Yes. Now look at body sodium over time. So go back to last term. What was the hormone that dealt with sodium reabsorption in the kidney? So today, aldosterone. So we're going to deal with aldosterone. Remember that was for sodium reabsorption. So I'm going to make a graph of sodium levels in my body over time. So let's say you don't have any sodium for whatever bizarre reason. Where could you get some? Out of my pee. So I'm going to reabsorb more.
Are we at that a second ago?
Yes. So what would aldosterone do to reabsorb more sodium? Up or down?
Sideways.
Give a teacher one? All right. You're going to have more aldosterone because aldosterone does reabsorption. So if I do more aldosterone, that would tell my collecting duct to reabsorb more sodium. So how does it reabsorb it? What was on that video? Let's watch again. Did you see? I see channels. If you look carefully at the little red things, these are sodium channels. So by having more channels, there's more doors to let the sodium in. So if I'm going to reabsorb more, I need to increase the sodium channels.
Who's measuring
Your kidney does actually on some of it. Do the osmolarity. Yes.
This is still have to do with dehydration.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're overhydrated, this happens?
Well, this would be, if you have low sodium, you could be overhydrated, yes, or not enough sodium. So let's then do the reverse.
Is it overhydrated at the bottom?
Yes.
So,
Let's say you have too much sodium. You went to McDonald's, had way too many fries. How can I get rid of all that salt? Lower aldosterone, which would remove my channels, and therefore I would do less what? Less reabsorption. Reabsorb less. It's exactly like the other one. The only difference is a different hormone, this is aldosterone, a different channel, because it's for sodium. But it's the same exact response.
so what would your output be if you had too much salt in your
Your urine would just be really salty, but also to draw water because of osmosis, so you end up with watery urine that has a high salt concentration.
So a lot of urine that's salty.
Yes. And you get more dehydrated because of that, because you draw the water out.
I think you might have answered my question right now. So I'm confused about how it correlates to overhydration and dehydration with your salt.
Normally when you drink too much water, you lose sodium because of the concentration difference. So drinking too much water makes you hyponatremic, which then kicks in this response.
Okay, so you drank too much water, so now you have too much salt.
You have too little salt.
So too much water equals too little salt.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Why doesn't it reabsorb any of those?
This is less.
Oh.
These are more reserved.
So if you drink more water, you'll eat more salt.
No, if you drink more water, you'll reabsorb more salt. assuming you have salt to reabsorb.
Because you upset the balance.
Yes.
Now you compensate.
Let me show you this in an animation here. Before you get all angry. Alright. So this is showing our basically nephrons. PCT, loop, DCT, blood, right? Alright. So what I want you to do is look at these numbers here as we zip along. We're not going to actually run that animation. We're just going to look at the numbers here. What this is showing is, as my fluid goes through my nephron, I'm basically going to reabsorb a percentage of it based upon these values. So if we go to here, here's my PCT, look at DCT, here are the numbers of my kidney. We're going to make Joe normal here, which is Dan. Who is this guy? So, these little blue boxes, what do you think those represent in this context? Aquifers, water channels, water transmembrane proteins, doors, gates, pick a word you like. Okay? So as the urine is going through my loop and out my collecting duct, I'm going to reabsorb some of the water through these blue doors. Okay? Because I am normal. Right? Now, I'm going to make Joe underhydrated. So from the graph, what should I see the little blue doors do? Suck it up. What do you see? Why are there more?
Because we want to
reabsorb more water. So you open more doors to let more water in my collecting duct into my body. Reabsorb more. So if I'm low in water, I want to keep water in my body. So notice his urine concentration. What's happening to his urine now? What do you see? Getting more yellow. So I'm moving the water. It's like paint, right? I'm unwatering your paint, thickening the paint. So the water's getting removed, so my urine's going to get darker, and the concentrations are going to be higher. Right? I'm removing water, leaving everything else in, compared to Mr. Normal. Yes?
The concentration gradient, how it gets steeper, is it just the medulla that's saltier?
Yes. It's supposed to be saltier.
Okay, so it's just the tissue, like all the fluids?
Yes. Interstitium. So if we look at the numbers here, so notice when I was normal, my kidney had a middle that was about 1200 salt, which is high. So nothing underhydrated. What do you notice about these numbers? They're more salty, right? Why would the kidney want to be more salty now?
Well, water through.
Well, water, but osmosis. So if the kidney gets more salty in its middle, water would want to go through those doors by osmosis. So it's one way of keeping water leaving your urine is to also make more doors and make my kidney, sorry, I'm choking it, more salty. So can you see anything else in this animation that would make my kidney have more solutes? So you see this yellow thing, what is that?
Urine.
Urea. Remember last week we learned that urea can be reabsorbed. One way your body uses urea is to make it saltier, more tonic in the kidney. So if we add to our graphs here a little bit, go back to our graph over here. So when I'm dehydrated, I'm going to increase ADH to increase more water. And I can also increase urea in the medulla. And why would I want more urea in the medulla? Salt concentration. It makes my your medulla more tonic, hypertonic. That increases hypertonicity.
So, can you find out about using the word hypertonic?
More solute, more salty, less watery.
So that would be at the bottom of that curve.
Yes.
Dehydrated.
Right. So if I'm dehydrated, I'm going to have a saltier kidney. Not in here.
We're reabsorbing urea.
Yes.
And urea makes that tissue salty.
Yes.
Okay.
More solute.
You get dehydrated.
Yes.
That makes sense because when you eat.
How about you?
Is it salty? Is it salt or is it?
Solute. Same thing. Okay, so if my theory is true, let's overhydrate Dan. So think about it. What would you expect to see in terms of water channels by overhydration?
Closed.
So it should close, remove, downregulate, fewer, pick a word you like. So let's do that. So now notice there are no channels anymore for Dan, for water. Why not? Because I am, right? You have way too much water as it is. My body's not. So the graph goes up, and then we turn off the channels. So notice the water stays in the piece. It's lighter in color, right? There's more of it. And talk about the urea. It's thin. I don't need urea to reabsorb water. I don't want it. So notice my kidney's less salty than before. So under normal conditions, my kidney's a little salty. If I'm overhydrated, it's not salty at all. Because I don't want the water in my body. So I'm not going to record any urea at all. So we put this all together, when I'm dehydrated, I would expect to see a lot more channels for water, a saltier, quote, kidney, and all that's job is to pull water back into my body. Keep it in my body and less in my pee.
What is urea?
Urea is the aggregation of proteins. It's basically NH3 with an O. It's a waste.
Isn't it poisonous to us?
In high concentrations, it is. Yeah. It won't kill you just by looking at it. This is what makes urine. This is what makes like a urinal stink. Is a urea. Yeah.
Okay, so does it make it more hypertonic or more?
Yes.
Makes the medulla more hypertonic?
Yes.
Okay.
Become hyper. Yes.
So if you drink too much water, you're going to reabsorb more salt.
No, if you're well, eventually. Because you wouldn't have enough salt in your body, so your salt here would go.
Oh, okay.
You dilute yourself. So in this animation, he's overhydrating, so I don't need the channels, I don't need the urea.
So what happens to aldosterone when you're overhydrated?
It might go up eventually.
It might, okay, but it doesn't really have a direct correlation.
Correct, that's right. So let's put this together. So I'm going to go back through that same graph visually here. So here's my beaker. Normal hydration gives me normal ADH. Normal ADH reabsorbs some of my urine. If I dehydrate you, how much ADH would I have? More ADH. Therefore, I should reabsorb more of my urine and pee out less. Okay, so I'm peeing out less of my urine because I'm dehydrated. If I'm overhydrated, ADH should go down. Therefore, I'm going to urinate more fluid because I don't want it. So I'm going to have more filtration and more urine being formed. Yes.
So when you're dehydrated, does that mean your urine's more concentrated?
No. Dehydrated means, oh, sorry, yes. Dehydrated means more concentrated, less volume.
Okay.
Yes.
So the urea, the amount of urea that your body needs or reabsorbs stays basically the same, just the concentration goes up when you're dehydrated.
Yes.
It's a water level.
Yes. Let's see if you understand this part by doing these kind of things. This looks like a test question. So, I'm going to make you more dehydrated, which means your body water went down. Which means my blood is getting
Down.
more osmolarity means concentrated. So therefore, my pituitary is going to release more ADH. And what happens if my blood decreases these channels?
Increase channels.
They increase my channels, which do what to water?
Increase urine.
They absorb more, which makes my urine.
Wait, more concentrated because you're reabsorbing water.
Less concentrated and more volume.
More concentrated.
Just tell us.
More urea.
More concentrated.
Okay, so if I pull the water out of my pee, I leave everything else behind, which is the crud. There's more crud and less volume, right?
Hey!
Can you get it wrong so I can see?
Okay.
Is this
So
on
you
your
did what
website?
you guys all said the first time, right?
Okay.
Oh, sad.
So if I'm undehydrated or overhydrated, I have too much water, my blood's not salty enough, right? I'm going to release my ADH, I'm going to turn off my channels, which turns off the water, which makes me have less concentration, but more pee, right?
Do you want like 2 arrows on the whiteboard for that?
Yeah, can you please?
Can I do what?
Like arrows, like up, down, what goes up, what goes down.
Take a picture of your phone.
I don't have a phone.
Grab up.
Okay, well, don't put it away.
Is it on your website?
You know that I uploaded videos, right? You can see it okay.
Grab them up. Yes.
Well, you know how people say when you drink more water, your body retains less water.
Yeah.
So how does that fit in with when you drink more water, you're holding on to more salt? Is that what you said?
Yeah, to a point. So under normal conditions, more water that you get over normal, you just pee out. If you really drink tons of water, force yourself to drink tons of water, what happens is you basically unsalt your body. The water level is going up, the salt doesn't, so you become hyponatremic. And then what the body has to do is try to get salt out of your pee to replace the salt you don't have from not drinking any salt. But that's under extreme conditions, not under a normal event. So those marathoners that drink water after the run, the reason they pass out and die is because they just drank water and lost all their salt. Basically, they water themselves to death. That's why you're supposed to drink salty water to replace the salt in the water first, and then replace it with water later.
So overhydration,
We'll kill
the
you
volume
eventually.
goes up and the salt concentration goes down.
Yes. But the key you want to understand is if I eat French fries, I'm not going to build any channels. Okay? I'm going to try to get that salt out of my body if I eat too many French fries. So let's do that. Let's go to my experiments. Yes. Oh, you want to start here?
Yeah.
Ready? Because now here's the real deal. Using everything you learned this week and last week, you have to be able to analyze pee. Because next week in lab, that is what you do. You're peeing in a cup, and we're going to check it for things. Not narcotics. A friend who pees like this. So let's pick here's my pee. So we're going to look at the color, the amount, what's in it, and what shouldn't be in it. Right? So let's pick person A. Does that look normal?
Yeah.
Oh, yellowy color.
Yeah, that's purple one.
Okay, so osmolarity means how thick it is. It's the normal thickness of urine. It has water. Should water be in pee?
Yeah.
It can be. Should waste be in pee?
Yeah.
Should electrolytes be in pee?
Yeah.
So tell me what we say when we put this all together. That is normal pee. Yellow, about the right amount, mixed up. Yep, that's normal pee.
So it should be a little bit yellow.
Under normal conditions, it is slightly yellow.
Can you define osmolarity again?
Osmolarity is the solute solution concentration. So osmolarity still means how thick it is.
Wait,
So,
How
thick it is.
How thick the concentration.
Yes. So if you add more water, your osmolarity goes down. If you're making it more watery. So let's try. How about person C? That's pretty.
That's gross.
Okay. How's it going? All right. So yellow when you see something bad. So let's see. So it says high normal, which means it's slightly thicker than you expect. It's still normal. There's water, there are wastes, there's RBCs, protein, and electrolytes. What's so bad about that?
Show you the RBC should not be in.
Right. Filtration, right? Big things shouldn't be in pee. So we're peeing blood and protein, that's always a bad day because they shouldn't be in there, right? So hence, more things in my pee make the osmolarity go up. It's a pretty red color. Hence, you have a disease. Renal disease. Your kidneys are sick. So if I give you a kidney punch, you'll pee blood. If you have nephritis, you'll pee blood. Because you're destroying your filtration membranes. Now let's do person D. That was about the red color.
Is there any way to distinguish red blood cells getting in there from filtering system being broken or like trauma to your urinary tract?
Not easily, no. You can tell if they're hemolyzed or not. You can tell if they're dying before they hit the kidney or after the kidney. But you can't figure out if it's because there's a leak or what. I mean, your urologist probably can't.
What are we doing?
Yell when you see something off.
Glucose?
You can't read that, man.
Purple one.
That says glucose, by the way.
Oh,
Is that good or bad? Bad. So what's that high osmolarity? What's high osmolarity mean?
Thick blood.
Thick blood. Really thick urine. Work better?
A little bit, yeah.
Waiters, all right.
First row.
So we have glucose, which and high osmolarity. So what's wrong with glucose? Is it glucose is cool?
It should be in your body.
You want to use it, right? Glucose is something we know should reabsorb. Well, the reason it's in there is because either my body doesn't want it, or like we did last week, we're overloading the enzyme system. Either way, that means I got too much glucose in my blood. And that makes my urine get thicker because I'm adding the sugar to the blood, spilling over, ending up in my pee. Right? So when we call that disease, we have sugary pee. Which one? Future health professionals are know the difference. Mellitus, right? Sweet tasting pee.
Is that type 1 or type 2?
Right?
Type 1. Yeah. Type 1 or type 2 would both be the same effect.
Which one is which? What is
But
it?
it is mellitus.
So mellitus is both type 1 and type 2. They're both versions of mellitus.
That was about receptors.
Right. So if I just need, birthday cake, or I have diabetes. What's the mean?
So you can have glucose to do your
I didn't know.
Yeah. For like one time. Right. So if you eat a bunch of Snickers bars, you may spill over glucose that evening, slightly. But by morning it should be gone. If you're diabetic, you're spilling sugar over all the time, every time. So one glucose does not a trend make, but glucose every round, that does make a trend. So that's why they tell you to do fasting glucose, right? Doctors don't want you eating because it throws off, oh, you had a Snickers bar before you came in, hence I can't prove anything, right? So that's why I always say not to eat when you come in. That's the logic behind it, yes.
So, what if your blood's consistently the brownish color?
Then you have renal
Like
disease.
this.
You get checked.
Next week we got that, we'll figure out why.
You need to get a check.
Go get checked.
What's the B? What's wrong with Christie?
They are
Right.
There's too much water.
Huge amount of it, right? That's a whole beaker full, double the amount. Looks very cool. Let's do B. So if you look chemically, nothing is wrong with the urine chemically. There's water, waste, salts. Perfectly fine. The problem is that last thing in red. It's very low osmolarity, which means it's a bunch of water. Right? You can notice the volume. So there's nothing wrong chemically, it's just you have way too much water in your pee. How could you end up with too much water in your pee?
You drink too much water.
I drank too much water. Or there's something wrong with my ADH thing, right? Because I'm getting too much reabsorption. So either way, that's not normal under long conditions. That's called diabetes insipidus. Basically, drippy pee. Right? Neither type. That's diabetes insipidus. Only different bees. Yes.
I know we've gone into diabetes in the past, but it just feels like an important subject to understand clearly. Like what I was under the impression that myelitis and insipidus were like type 1 and type 2.
Yeah. The only thing they have in common is the first word.
I'm pretty sure they taught us that in medical school.
Well, they're pretty wrong.
Yeah, like.
Horribly wrong if they taught you that.
Yeah.
So diabetes, the word diabetes means urine. Right? So all they refer to is the urine. So diabetes mellitus means your urine has glucose in it, which is from what we call diabetes, right? The diabetes type 1 and type 2 are both the same disease. They're getting sugar in your pee. So type 1 and type 2 are two versions of mellitus. Insipidus means there's water in your pee, which has nothing to do with sugar at all. But it has something to do with urine. So it's diabetes. There's like 50 different diabetes. The only mean is for your urine. Right? So the only thing that has in common is the word urine. So insipidus is not a type 1, type 2, it's nothing. Type 1, type 2 are the diabetes of sugar.
Okay.
Right? So 1 means you don't make insulin, and 2 means you're fat and don't exercise. But they both lead to sugar in the urine. But insipidus has nothing to do with sugar at all.
Oh, this is a rare condition.
It is. Yeah.
Having too much water in your urine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to one of the rooms that say they taught us insipidus.
Well, that would be biologically wrong.
Have you ever seen purple urine?
Asparagus and those beets.
Asparagus and
There is some like
They can get off.
that gives you purple urine, but I don't know. I saw
Yeah,
it.
beets, borscht, I think, yeah.
Oh, borscht, that's good.
Borscht.
It's like a Russian stew.
So if you understood on this information, you understood what's good, bad, and pee, you make that judgment call. Like I shouldn't have RBC, I shouldn't have protein, I should have these. You can also understand the osmolarity concept, which is the water in my pee is based on the ADH levels and how much I have. So if I drink too much water, in theory, my pee should come out more clear and more reddish. Your mom's watching the pee clear all the time, right? That's the concept. The more water I drink, the more that is put in my pee because the graph goes up. The ADH goes down, the water keeps going out. It's like both receptors. Right? So if you can analyze pee like this, explain good or bad and why, that's the goal of this exercise, that you can figure out why my pee looks like this. Every morning when you pee, you wonder why it's bright yellow. Now you can, oh, I know why. I haven't been drinking for 12 hours. Therefore, I'm going to have no water in my urine because my body reabsorbed it from high ADH. Therefore, it should be a brighter color and more concentrated than it was last night.
Is that also why when women keep pregnancy tests, they say use morning pee?
Yeah, if you go for life insurance, you demand morning pee because you can't hide, because you haven't done anything, you can't hide what's wrong with you in the morning. So they get to see how much water you retain, what you've been doing, what you've been drinking. There's nothing you've done to affect it except for losing water. Right? So that's why your doctor usually wants morning pee. Right? In theory, you go wake up, drink a bunch of water, it's like, look how healthy I am. Right? They'll get you one way or the other.
I should do it at 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's right. Life insurance, it was by 6 a.m. with my life insurance.
So when we take like vitamins,
yeah,
yellow.
Yeah, because they're water soluble, the extra vitamins in your blood get sent to your pee.
Oh, and so that really happens. Okay.
Yep. Right. So if you want your pee to froth and be yellow, eat B vitamins. They'll froth and be yellow.
Okay. Good to know.
Vitamin C will turn it off orange. So we understand how to interpret urine
Yes.
versus you're out. Right. So get out your packet of pain. We're going to put this to the test.
Can you turn on the light, please?
I can do that. We're going to do this one together. It's a brief little case study. 23.
I'm missing a page too.
Page 23?
Wait, what page?
23. It's on the back of one, I think.
Oh.
It's the front.
I have page 23.
We're doing this as a class. It basically reviews what we did the last couple days. So we have Dan. He goes in, has pain. Look, oh, pain. And they do all this expensive stuff, and they do a UA, and I'm disturbed because I see pink in my UA. Is pink a normal pee color? Probably not. So we need to figure out what that is. Congratulations for $600 you have a kidney stone. All right. So let's figure out where a stone would start and where it would end. So where would your stone start?
And your ducks.
Professionals or do kidney stones count?
Too much calcium.
Liver. Let's go through this one again. So calcium is what stones are made out of. It's calcium assaulted is. So it's going to go through my glomerulus, and it's going to come out my collecting duct into here. And what's at the end of that arrow? Renal pelvis, which means my kidney plates, right? So this thing. So the calcium's going to end up in this area and start making a pearl, just like an oyster would. So the calcium builds up enough, we would call big calcium. Yes, indeed. So now you formed kidney stones. The calcium went through my nephron and collected in my kidney. Now how's it going to get out? Pee it out. So what's the pathway to pee out? Let's see. So it's going to come out my ureter, rip its way on down, finishing at the bladder, then rip its way out the urethra, and then you pass the stone. So the calcium takes the route of any other substance. It's going to start my nephron, to my kidney, to my ureter, and urethra. Right? So you're just tracing the pathway.
From your kidneys.
So let's put down the door.
Yes, please.
And this one's sharp.
It can be. The ones I get tend to be. Alright, so let's see. So we go from nephron to kidney. What's after a kidney? Ureter, to a bladder, to urethra, right, into a bowl. Alright, so what happens is the calcium gets filtered by your kidney and not reabsorbed, it ends up down in there. So, what's causing the pink color? That's good old blood. So why is there blood? I thought it's just calcium.
It's not a smooth causing trauma.
Causing trauma, yes.
So your ureter is like wider, so you can't really feel it going down?
You can. You can. So normally, I know this because they start up about here, they hit the ureter, and the ureter then spasms, sort of shove the rock down.
So you can
And
feel
so
it.
then, yeah, and then you just kind of feel it rip its way on down.
How long does it normally take?
Mine takes 3 days.
You say mine? Do you get them all the
Yes.
time?
I've had this more than once, yes. So, how does this happen? Good old trauma. That's right. So, is that normal? Should blood be in pee? No. Not as a rule, no. Normally, there should not be blood in your pee. So, if you're peeing blood, it's automatically something is wrong. Right? Something is causing trauma. So, let's figure out what makes the stone a stone. So, what chemical are stones made out of? Usually, they're calcium salt. Usually, there are others. Partially, but also what happens is they settle out.
What does that mean?
I'll tell you, since you're not on the farm. Ever forget to mix your Kool-Aid? What does all the Kool-Aid do? Settles to the bottom. So I don't have enough water in my urine. The calcium settles to the bottom. It collects. It begins to accumulate. So, for example, if you have the flu for 3 days and don't drink anything, me, will end up with a kidney stone because I have no water. Therefore, the salts that are left in my urine settle out and become a rock because there's no water to flush them.
Are some people just more prone to these than others?
Yes. So if you have a high calcium diet, you tend to get more stones. So I have plaque on my teeth from calcium, I get stones. It's kind of cool.
You drink a lot of soda and you're not drinking water, will that do it?
No, actually soda tends to flush things, believe it or not. As long as you keep drinking soda.
Even diet soda?
Even diet soda. There's something in mind?
No. What if you just drink diet soda and you have?
So what happens, for example, you get dehydrated, your body begins to reabsorb all the water, so there's nothing to float the calcium out with. So it just settles wherever it sits like a rock in the surf. So then the calcium sits there and begins to collect, and now you have a stone. So a common problem is you get dehydrated, and then later you'll throw the stones as a result of that. Not every time. There are people that genetically get them. So normally what it is a dehydration event. So 2 days after I get a flu, I'll have a stone.
Aren't they more common in men?
Men complain about it more.
Shocking.
It's hard to say if it really is more common or men just scream about it more. So, what if it's too big to pass? What do doctors do?
Surgery.
Surgery, or break them up with ultrasound, lithotripsy. They have to smash the rock to get it out. Otherwise, you'll be in pain the rest of your life.
So can't you get like gallstones too?
Yes.
But you don't pass those?
Well, you can. You wouldn't notice it. But if they do plug, then they have to do the gallbladder removal for surgery. Same effect. If your gallbladder squeezes all the time, and nothing happens. So it keeps squeezing and causing cramping.
So what would they have to do? Just perform surgery?
Yeah, either cut them out or they use the laser beam, the ultrasound. Yeah, the ultrasound, they put a big thing on there, bam, bam, bam.
To get your gallbladder done, where does your balance?
It doesn't.
So it happens to be
You can't break down the fat. Just amount. Because you're less likely.
Oops, I pooped.
How do you get your essential?
You have a hard time with it.
So we can say what's on
This guy got a special diet.
when a person has water,
In theory.
in theory.
If you're okay on your analysis and whatnot, what we're going to do now is add some terminology to your knowledge. This is what you're hearing behind me here. Continue. There you go.
This isn't that difficult.
Let's do this. Here's our girl hiking in the desert. So let's these arrow things. So, what would thirst do in the desert?
Dehydrate.
Delicious. Now, osmolarity, meaning the thickness of her blood, would be, it's going to be more thick, hypertonicity, whatever word you want. Because her plasma volume is, she's losing water, right? So her volume goes down. Her urine output should go down. So she's not going to pee water if I need it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her body weight?
Down.
There you go. I mean, don't use this as weight loss. Temperature. So that's the logic your body's doing. So if you become dehydrated, you get thirsty, your kidneys will try to reabsorb and keep you alive.
How quickly do these things normalize after drinking a glass of water?
Good question. There's the immediate response. Your brain actually feels the good taste of water within about 2 seconds. So when you swallow a glass of water, your brain immediately feels that you're done being thirsty. The cells further down in the plasma, they keep going for about half an hour. But the brain would not feel thirsty once you took the first thing. So there's a neurological response and there's a physiological layer. Right? So now I have to learn a few little words that deal with what we just did here. Lost my page.
The kidney?
No, I lost my eyes. Not back here. There we go. Okay, so let's understand what the girl did when she drank the water. So here's the water. So I'm now absorbing the water. It's in my bloodstream. It's pumped around. And then my kidneys have to do their response to the curve, right? So now I'm going to figure out how the water actually got from my digestive tract into my bloodstream. There's not a direct pathway there. Let's figure that out. So we have to learn some vocabulary to use when we're talking about that absorption. So I'm going to use some letters over here.
So is this,
These are the water compartments.
that sounds like something else that's out of weight loss water.
The water compartments. All right, so let's go through that. There are two compartments, meaning places water can be. One is called the ECF and one is called the ICF. Does anyone know what ECF stands for? I have a job. Extra cellular fluid. Extracellular fluid is ECF. So ICF must be intra or inner. Right? So now I gotta figure out where these are. So where is my extracellular fluids? Where is that? Outside my cell. Good. Can you give me an example outside my cell?
Your plasma.
All right. This could be my plasma of my blood. Or this could be my interstitial fluid. Remind me where plasma is. What part of the blood is the plasma? The liquid part. Where's my interstitial? Between my cells. So it can be around my blood cells or between my cells. That's outside the cell. Where's my intracellular fluid?
In the cell.
What did you call that in biology 112?
Cytoplasm.
Cytoplasm. Right. So, when you drink a glass of water, it's going to hit your small intestines and go between the cells when you absorb it. So, what compartment was that glass of water going through that's going between the cells? That's my extracellular fluid. Which one is between the cells?
Interstitial.
Okay. And then it ends up in my blood, which would be, which one? Plasma, also my ECF. So the trick that you have to sort of keep in your head is these two are roughly the same. So the ECF are free exchange. Everything that I drink or eat is going to end up around my cells and in my blood. But they're not going to be inside my cells. Why not?
Cell membrane.
Cell membrane, which you learned in 112. The cell membrane is semi-permeable, regulates. So when you're eating or drinking something, you're going to be affecting the ECF. And then the cells would be separate from that. So let's prove that, future healthcare professional that you are, by having you do something simple like an IV, shall we? Let's do some IVs, which is here. All right, so you did this in 112. You did it in, I think, in 231. So here we have my hypotonic, isotonic, and hypertonic IVs. Here's a blood cell. Here's some plasma interstitium. So when you give the IV, which compartment does the needle go into? The ECF or the ICF?
ICF. No, the ICF.
Goes into the blood.
ECF goes in the plasma.
Let's see, an IV stands for intravenous, veins are full of plasma, it must be my ECF, right? You're putting a needle into the blood vessel, the ECF. So you're going to be putting something in the ECF, and that's me changing the extracellular compartment, the plasma. So let's do that. I'm going to give him a hypertonic IV. So I'm going to make the ECF saltier, right? What will the cell do if I make the outside of the cell saltier?
Shrink.
It will shrink. The ICF doesn't inherit the salt, it loses the water. So salt sucks. So I'm changing the ECF, and the ICF has to respond. I didn't change the ICF directly, I didn't put salt in the ICF, I put salt in the ECF. Right? So you're doing IVs, you're affecting the outside compartment. Let's do the hypotonic IV. So I do a watery IV in the ECF. The cells should expand or explode depending on how much they give you. I'm changing the ECF and the ICF to respond. So I made the outside of the cell waterier, is that in English? And therefore it absorbs the water in the cell. So like in 112, the best answer is isotonic. Therefore, the cell ICF and the plasmic ECF are the same. So nothing should change, right? But when you're doing IVs, or you're drinking water, or drinking my Diet Coke, or eating French fries, you're changing the ECF of your body. And therefore, the cells have to gain or lose to maintain the equilibrium. So you're changing ECF. Right?
That just means salt.
Yeah, it's 112 word, right? You're all supposed to know that word. Right? So you're changing ECFs. So let's pretend, like that woman did in Sacramento to blame her iPod, that all you do is drink tons and tons of hypotonic solution. She drank pure water for 2 hours. Let's do that here. So what compartment did she change by drinking pure water for 2 hours? The ECF. That's not giving you a hypotonic IV.
Wouldn't she also change her ICF?
Well, not directly. So she changed the outside cell compartment with pure water. That made her blood cells get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And what do blood cells do eventually when they get too big? They divide. What happened to her? She died.
Wait, what was she doing? She's doing what?
It was a weed. So what she did was she changed the ECF and made it more watery than normal. The cells that had to respond by getting bigger, and they blew up as you died.
Whose idea was that? I'm so confused.
Radio station.
Yeah, the radio station. You got the little lead. You drank water for, was it 2 hours or something?
Yes.
Probably.
Sure did.
And didn't you say a bunch of doctors called in and were like, you should have
So stupid.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't matter, right? So the concept was she was changing the ECF. And the cells that had reply.
Is that like similar to how you hear about like college kids who are trying to be good at not drinking so they have emotional water to get me?
Yes.
So it's the same thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I see it.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to an ECF ICF concept. We're going to do a little clinical case study. So turn the page in your back.
What is that, 24?
That's page 25. So your job, future healthcare professionals, is you're going to read this case. You're going to do the questions. And I'm going to talk about it in 5 minutes. So I want you and your team to answer these as best you can in 5 minutes, and we'll talk about it. We'll see typical clinical cases. Yeah.
Is that the first?
Actually, the neurons are off first. Comatose, then the second one.
Okay.
Nerves are much more sensitive to light. They can't fire unless they send investments. They actually basically pass out. And then if the kidneys can't clear, then you fall. Either way, it's bad.
The red, like, do we receive the water, or would it also be like
Epithelia is good as well. It's also a member. There's an anchor. So they tend to blow up more. I'm not sure if they're first. Alright, we'll go through this one and take guesses.